4 Brexit secrets you need to know. Today we're going to look into Brexit secrets to find out what's really going on with Brexit. Trust me, the title isn't clickbait. Number 1. No deal is just a bluff. And this comes from the Daily Mail. So you may remember it was reported at the weekend that Liam Fox said that we have a 60 to 40% chance of a no deal. The UK government is set to release 70 papers on preparing for just that. A no deal. But in December 2016, the very man that said we had a 60 to 40% chance of a no deal at the weekend said the following: "In order to minimise disruption to global trade as we leave the EU over the coming period, the government will prepare the necessary draft schedules which replicate, as far as possible, our current obligations." In other words, we won't be pulling a no deal to minimise disruption to global trade. So we will try and replicate being in the single market and being in the customs union as far as possible. And that's quoting directly from Liam Fox in December 2016. Of course, the other way of interpreting this is that since negotiations have begun and Theresa May brought out that Chequers plan, Liam Fox has done a U-turn on his stance. At the start of negotiations, he was saying it would be easy to get a deal. He now is saying it's hard. It's going to be a 60 to 40% chance of a no deal, and he simply just changed his mind. But that doesn't excuse the fact that at the beginning, in December 2016, he was saying those things, implicating him to the fact that the Chequers deal is so soft, Brexity, Remainer friendly. Number 2. Remainers have been planning to mess it up all along. This comes from Michael Portillo. His theory is that the Prime Minister is, whether deliberately or not, surrounded by Remainers.
The Prime Minister has been surrounded by Remainers. I think there has been a conspiracy to arrive at this situation. We've allowed the Northern Ireland situation to dictate the entire policy.
The fear of more troubles in Northern Ireland has led to a fear of leaving the single market and customs union.
And we arrive at a situation which everybody knows is unsatisfactory, and I think that's part of the plan as well, because the Remainers believe that it will be so unstable that it will trigger a reconsideration before long.
And they want instability to trigger a second referendum or some deal that's more Remainer friendly. In other words, the Remainers' plan is to try and thwart Brexit as much as possible. Number 3. The government is deliberately keeping wages low. So one of the main reasons people voted to leave the European Union was because they felt like immigrants were coming into the country on lower wages and therefore taking away jobs from the jobs market. So this comes from The Independent. It basically says that seasonal migrant workers from the EU are giving Britain a miss this summer, leaving summer fruit unpicked. But unemployed Britons aren't filling the gap. In an industry that employs 85,000 seasonal workers, with 95% coming from other EU countries. Now obviously, farmers are very worried about this. They went to the Prime Minister and asked her to make an amendment to the Chequers bill in which she has now the seasonal agricultural worker scheme. This coming from the Times. Basically, in order to help the unemployed at job centres, the government are going to send out an advert trying to get people to do these fruit picking jobs. And the advert will say, forget long hours, hard toil and low pay, come work in the fruit industry, or whatever it will say after that. But the key point is this quote, because it's implying that fruit picking isn't long hours, it isn't hard toil, and it isn't low pay. Well, it is long hours, it is hard toil, and the wage is just above the minimum wage. So they're essentially going to lie to the British people in job centres in order to try and persuade them to come into these fruit picking jobs. They want UK workers in fruit picking jobs instead of immigrants, but they'll do anything to stay rich by keeping wages low. And number 4, this has been talked about many a time now, but I actually have some direct evidence of it. The EU will punish us. This from The Guardian in February 2018. Brussels will have the power to punish the UK at will during the Brexit transition period by closing off parts of the single market to British companies. If the UK infringes EU law, the 27 member states want to be able to act against the UK without going through the European Court of Justice. So they will suspend certain benefits of the internal market, such as tariffs on goods, the enforcement of custom checks, or the suspension of the Single Air Aviation Agreement, essentially forcing the UK to adhere to EU law. It's forcing us to be within the rules of the ECJ without having control over those rules in order to get access to a single market or customs union. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and join in the debate below.